what's really important, I need you to understand, ladies. I was just talking to a client who's reporting to me about her new amazing love life. And honestly, her story, women come to me when they come to the end of their rope, basically. When I am the last stand, I am the last stand. The Black Swan Relationship Academy is often the last stand. So when I'm telling you about my clients, these are women who have tried everything and their stories are awful. And so when I say they found love, it's a real leap. But as I was talking to her, what I really mused was she didn't really get past the strategy stuff, but because she's so embodied the emotional state of a black swan, the emotional state of a quality woman, the emotional state of her being and of her presence. She met her man straight off the bat. She didn't date, a few guys. I mean, my clients will date an average. If they date 10 guys before they find their man, they've dated a lot. Because basically, my clients don't need to go on that many dates because their energy is so manicured. Their mindset, everything is ready that they usually find their guy quite quickly. Same thing with, Coach Unique and all of our clients. Once you've done the course with us, you don't have to be on dating apps for 100 years. You literally, you meet your person quite quickly. And, she met her guy straight off the bat, But I was really kind of musing to myself and being grateful because I was thinking, yeah, this is what happens when we have emotional mastery, when we really deal with some things. And what I want you to understand is that the biggest enemy of you is within you, and that is your ego, okay? So we're going to talk about your super ego. We're going to talk about your ego. We're going to talk about its function, its place in our lives, because it still has a place. It's not to be discarded. So when we are displaying nice girl tendencies and compulsions and doing things that are crazy, sometimes we even confuse being a warm, full-hearted person who is a natural giver with being a nice girl. There's a difference between giving out of a compulsion and giving out of your nature. I want to talk about how, I pride myself. I'm wired to be a giving person, whether it's time, money, emotions. I'm very generous with myself, my time, my resources. And I'm very proud of that. I've got to be honest, because I'm not a perfect human being. And so I like to be good at something, I like to kind of think, well done, girl. But there was a time when I was generous, but out of my ego, out of fear that I wouldn't be liked if I said no, and out of fear that if I said no, I would be abandoned or deserted. So it was more a compulsion that was being driven by my ego, to keep me safe and keep me connected to other people. Having done the work now, I still operate very much the same. I'm still the person who you can turn to in a hard time. I'm still the person my coaches, my friends, my family can turn to for emotional support, spiritual support, financial support. I am still that person, but it no longer comes from a compulsion. It really comes from a conscious awareness that I am acting out of my nature. I'm acting out of my divine assignment. I believe that part of my divine assignment is to give generously. I believe I was built with, part of my mission in this world is to be a generous person, and it fills my soul. The Bible says it is more blessed to give than to receive, and honestly I receive incredible joy from giving, but I used to get resentful for giving, and that was the first trigger. That why do I give and feel resentful? Because that part of my giving was coming from my ego. It wasn't coming from my soulful self, my essence. So sometimes when we were talking about a nice girl and rehabilitating, it doesn't mean that you become a different human. It doesn't mean that you become a different sort of entity, and all of a sudden you used to be giving, now you're not giving anymore. What that means now is you give consciously. You know why you're giving. You're giving because you're full. You're giving because you're abundant. You're giving because it brings you joy. It's almost selfish to give. For me, that's how I feel. It's selfish. I literally get a dopamine high from giving to people because it's selfish. It's really about pleasing myself. I love the feeling of affecting people's lives and changing. And many of us are like that. but we get resentful when we're giving from the wrong place. So like I said in my book, it's never what we're doing, it's the place from which we do it that often causes distress and often causes resentment and causes us to be good people who are resentful for being good, right? And what that means too is the place from which we give also speaks to the place from which it is received, right? If I'm giving you with a covert contract in my mind that if I give you this, then you owe me da 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 da, because I've got this little covert contract. Thank you, Luna Arts. Then even as you receive, how many of you have ever received from a person who is giving with a little bit of a covert contract? It feels heavy. That receiving from such a person feels difficult. It feels heavy. It feels like, what am I going to have to pay back in return? So, learning that, no, you can still be a good woman. You can still help. You can still show up for your friends. You can still be the one who always shows up, and you can still be the one who cares about a man and, and takes care of him. And you can do that. But from what place are you doing that? Because when we do that from the wrong place, the man we're dealing with reads it. It's like the energy signature behind that giving feels desperate, beggy, will you love me? Will you marry me? Will you make me yours? I'm doing this to please you, to prove to you that I'm such a wonderful woman and I'm so great. What I want to do in this year's Nice Girl Rehab is really help us retune, like open the bonnet, right? Go into the inside and rewire everything so that you're running more smoothly. Because some of the stuff that we do sometimes is we get to that point where we're just overwhelmed. We're like, I'm done being the only person giving. I'm done being that person, and then what happens is we stop being that person and then we feel bereft because that giving and that doing was never for them, really. You just internalized it as currency for love. You internalized it as currency for, a bad situation.